Hello everyone, hope you all are doing great and welcome back. And in this video we are going to be working with swipe actions. So WWDC 21 introduced many improvements to the third iteration of SwiftUI 3, and with these additions, SwiftUI team has made our work even easier. Today we're going to be talking about one such feature. It's a custom swipe action modifier. So starting iOS 15 and above and SwiftUI 3 and above, we now have ability to display actions when a row on a list is swiped right or left. Now let's take a look at the function declaration first before we start applying this cool new modifier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a navigation view. Just for now, we're going to have a text, and I'm going to create swipe action. We're not going to code anything right now within the swipe action. We're going to come back to that in a minute, but I want to jump into the definition for this. So let me go ahead and okay, all right, I just want to see the definition. Okay, there we go. So if you look at like swipe action has like a few things that are going in for it. For example, there are a few parameters. So let's take each parameter in this function. So you have an edge, right? So edge is basically the edge of the view to associate the swipe action. So basically default value is horizontal edge dot trailing. This is right here. So when you swipe from the trailing end of your list, then you're gonna see an action. Okay, then comes allow full swipe. Now this is a boolean value, and that indicates whether a full swipe is automatically performed or not for the first action, and default is true. So you must have seen with the delete action within the list, whenever you try to swipe and you have swiped far enough, it actually deletes the element. So it actually completes that full swipe for you until you reach a certain point. And if you leave before that point, the button is exposed, and you can actually take an action on that button. So that is what this allow swipe does. Okay, and we're gonna go over all of these with an example, but I just want to give you a rundown of all the parameters that we have. Last one is the content, which is a view builder, and basically it's the content for your swipe action. Okay, now attaching swipe is very easy. So let's go back to the example. All right, and I'm going to start with a navigation view. Okay, so we're going to start navigation view. We're going to have a list inside that, and you're going to create a for each. Okay, we're going to for each for 1 to 11. That means we are displaying 10 items. I'm going to get basically access to index. Okay, and we're going to create an h stack. This h stack is going to have an image, and we're going to use system name. Now system name has basically a system name is basically referring to the images in your SF symbol. SF symbol has basically images for these numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to simply get our index. Okay, and you're gonna fill the rest with circle.fill. So it's going to be 1.circle.fill, 2.circle.fill. So it's going to get us an image that is 1.circle, 2.circle. Okay, so you're going to see that in a minute. Then we're going to have a text, and this text is going to basically just say item number index. Okay, now let's make a font for this one as body, and font for this one, the image, as title. Okay, we're gonna give this a foreground color, and I'll actually choose the blue color. And now we can attach our swipe actions. Okay, so we're gonna simply say swipe action, and we are attaching that swipe action on each row. Okay, so we're gonna attach the swipe action. The default constructor takes, basically it has all the defaults defined, so all you need to do is provide the content. So we're gonna provide the content in the form of button, and button is gonna print something, and that print is gonna be favorite item, and it's gonna have a label, and this label is gonna be the label. We're gonna use the label view, favorite, and we're gonna have a system image of heart. Okay, let's give this a tint of green color. Okay, so that's our first swipe action. Okay, and then we're gonna have another one. This is gonna print save for later, and for the label we are simply going to have a label, and this is gonna say save for later. System image is gonna be clock.fill, and we're gonna have a tint for that too, and this time it's gonna be red. Okay, and let's give this guy a navigation title as well. Like so. Okay, so let me go ahead and run this. Okay, so let's go ahead and run this, and there we have it. This is our list, which is displaying items from 1 to 10. Okay, and if you swipe, as you can see, we have default, we have some actions, and when you select, you get save for later, or if you select your heart, that's actually the favorite item. Now, one of the other default is when you take and full swipe, the default action basically takes over and completes it for you automatically. Okay, so basically that's the most basic swipe action that would work. Now, in this example, we are taking action and printing them in the console, so we can do something useful with the selection that we have, like, instead of printing it in the console. So instead of printing in the console, we will actually create two state variables of string array type, each for favorite and save for later, and we're going to add the item based on user selection for those into an array, into those arrays that we have created, those state variables. And for UI, we will add a count of those at the top of the list. So when user is making the selection, we'll display the count of them at the top of the list. Okay, so let's go ahead and create two state variables. and we're going to by default initialize them with empty, so they're not going to have any value. And inside the list, at the top of the list, we're going to create an H stack. This H stack is going to have a spacer, okay, and then a V stack. V stack, we're going to put some spacing of about 10 points. Label, and we're gonna give this a foreground color of orange. Okay. Then we are also going to have basically so apart from label, we're gonna have our image. Okay, and this is basically whatever number of count our favorite list has. So favorite list dot count dot circle dot fill, and we're gonna give this a font title. Right, and we're gonna have a spacer, another spacer right there. Okay, so that's our first V stack. Actually, the spacer, let's put it here, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to create 2 columns, and I'm going to copy this and going to paste it right here. And basically this one is going to be save later, and this one is going to be clock dot fill. Foreground is orange. Save later list dot count. Okay, and another spacer right there. Okay, now once we have the view added, basically the H stack that has 2 columns displaying a favorite list and a save later list, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our button and we're going to add item or append item in that list. Okay, so instead of printing, we're going to simply add them into the corresponding list. Okay, with that change, let's go ahead and rerun this, and what we should see is basically a list that is actually printing like the count of what our user is selecting. So I'm going to select save for later for a few, maybe favorite, and default actions. All right, so this is a little bit better, like, you know, I mean, we are taking some actions on these elements. Now the default swipe action is basically when a certain distance is met, the first action, basically in this case the favorite, that's the favorite list action right here, is triggered by default. So that's the default behavior, and we can change that by specifying that we don't want to allow full swipe. So allows full swipe is true by default, and we can set it to false, and that will actually give us opportunity to basically ask our user that, hey, you can choose which action you want to perform. So I'm going to try to drag, and I'm going to keep dragging, and as you can see, it's actually stretching, but it's not going to complete the action for you. You have to choose it So I'm going to do it again. And it's not completing. So it's actually stopping you from taking the default action. So if that's the need, you can have basically allow full swipe. Save it for set it as false. Okay. So far we have seen the modifiers for default behavior, disabling the full swipe action. Now let's pay attention to edge protocol, edge parameter. Okay, so edge parameter is basically where, which edge you want to swipe. So the default is trailing part, that's the edge. So when we start swiping from the trailing, that's where we show the action. Now if you want to display them, when you swipe from the leading side, notice right now we can't do any leading operations. So let's go ahead and change that. And for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide these two actions into two different swipe actions. And this is one of the beauty about having it as a modifier, because you can chain them together. So you can simply say swipe action, and what we can do is we can actually set it to swipe actions as default. So both from the leading side and the trailing side, it's gonna be it's gonna autocomplete for us. Okay, so let me go ahead and run this. Oh, actually, you know what? One thing we forgot is the edge. Okay, so we want this from the leading edge, and now we have a leading action, and it completes when we do the full swipe. All right, so basically now you have your leading and trailing actions, and you don't have to stick to just having one action. You can have multiple actions. If you have noticed, Notes app or Outlook for iPhone, or the iOS Outlook app, they all have multiple swipe actions on the leading and trailing side. So you can have those options as well. So you don't have to basically stick to just having one swipe action. All right, so yeah, so this brings us to the end of this video, where we talked about new SwiftUI 3 feature, swipe actions. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in another video. Thank you.